Alright, now we are ready to insert a graphic. And as I said earlier, it's very similar to how you insert text. You're going to begin by going to File and Place. And we're going to find our photo. Okay. And after selecting it, it's going to load my cursor just like it did with the text. And let me just note here that I have already previously taken my photo into Photoshop and made sure that the resolution was no less than 150 dpi. And I also went ahead and grayscaled it and lightened it up, making sure that we're going to get some good image quality when it comes time to print. So having done that, and now with my cursor loaded with my image, I'm first just going to click and release. And see our photo here. You see it's a little distorted, but the first thing you want to do is go to View, Display Performance, go to High Quality Display, because that's going to give you the true view of what you have going on here. And as you can see, our image really wasn't distorted in a true sense. It was just InDesign at a different quality of display. So having done that, we see we've got a pretty big image here. If I zoom out, the native image itself, as big as it can go, is on display right now, and that's too big. So I'm going to go ahead and select it and delete. And I'm going to go ahead and place it again, and the keyboard shortcut for that is, at least for Mac, it's a Command D. I believe for Windows it's Control D. And that's going to immediately bring up your box here. I'm going to just select my photo and hit Open. But instead of just clicking and letting go, I'm going to click and I'm going to hold. And we'll just do that for now. It's not quite 2 columns, but almost. And I want to insert this right there. I want it to go ahead and span 2 columns, so I'm going to bring that, drag that over. Now, if you notice, when I drag that over, my image box here, we have this white space. And if I now go over to the direct select cursor, which is the white mouse, as you can see, and I select the image, we now get this orange box around the image. So now we're actually selecting the image and not the box that it's in. And just using the arrow keys, I can move this around, I can move it right, I can move it left. And as long as the image is in the box, this blue box here, as long as it's inside there, when you go to print, your image will show up. But now if I take this image, and it's still selected with the orange border around it, if I take it and let's say I use the down arrow, by holding Shift and an arrow key, it'll move it in larger increments. And let's say, looking at it now, get my other cursor here. Looking at it now, here's our image box, and as you can see, the text is even behind the image box. But here's our image box, and the image is only halfway in it, or almost a quarter. So if we were to print this, this is all that would show up, even though there's your whole image. This blue box here is your print area for the image. So I'm going to go back to my direct select tool, I'm going to select the image, and we're going to bring that back up. And as you can see, the orange border now is in line with the blue border, both top and bottom, so we have our whole image here. Now, to make this a little less confusing before we go any further, this text is behind the image, and you obviously don't want that. And if we select the text, we can see that it runs the full length here. What we want to do is we want to select the image box, not the image, but the image box. And we want to go over to text wrap. Now, as contrary as it sounds, this also controls, or this is for images, even though it says text wrap. Basically, it's just going to wrap the text around our image depending on which setting. And just for this example, we're going to select the second option, which is wrap around the bounding box. When we do that, it automatically kicks it out from this image box. So now that we have a little bit cleaner area here, and obviously what you can do here is you can bring this down, and that way we get all of our text. Now revisiting the image here, as you can see, we've got this white space. And, well, we can't leave that white space there. So we're going to right-click, and we're going to go to Fitting. And you get a couple options here: fit content to frame, fit frame to content, so on and so forth. We want, almost in every instance, you're going to want to go fit content proportionately. And as you can see, this is as proportionate as it can go in this image frame. Now if I were to make the image frame larger, and then we go back to our fitting, and we go fit content proportionally, it enlarges it, but it does so proportionally. The proportion is going to depend on how large your image box is, as well as some of the native settings that you have in the image itself. So let me get this back to where I want. So we've got our image nicely proportionate there. But let's go back to this white issue, the white space issue here. We want the image to fulfill that. And to be honest, now I edited the photo in Photoshop, but I'm looking at it now and I'm thinking, I don't need all this, and I could probably crop some of this out. Instead of going back into Photoshop, what we can do, go back to your direct select tool. We're going to work with just the image here, and we're going to make this larger. And on a Mac, you can do this in increments of 1 by holding down Command and the less than sign, and that will enlarge the photo. And I'm just going to move it over because this is basically how I'm going to want it cropped. I'm just going to keep going here. Alright, that's about where I want it. So, even though I've enlarged it, bring that down just a bit because we're out of our area. So even though I've enlarged it, I've now filled that white space. And so now we have a nice tight layout here, and we've been able to crop the photo down even more to get more focus on the students and the computers here. And that is basically how you place images.